Welcome back to the Fall Break Championship presented by D24 Designs. Here we are with the Week 2 matchups. Now these are teams that had a bye in Week 1 versus teams that won in Week 1. Next week we're going to be doing all the teams that lost in Week 1 and 2 will be playing each other. Everybody who won this week will have the week off. Pretty exciting slate of games, so let's hop into them. And here we are with the first game. We're leading off with, I would say, one of the most surprising games I've seen in the league in a long time. We've got Darren versus Zach. So, start off with a Tapu Koko lead, and is going to do pretty decent damage to this Ogre Pawn, weakening it considerably as it gets its choice specs knocked off. And then he's just going to take that opportunity to go for a super effective U-turn on the Ogre Pawn, clip the Raikou. Iron Moth's going to come in and get that Quark Drive speed boost. So this is already a pretty interesting position just because there is no... If he has... Honestly, he just needs Fiery Dance, Sludge Wave, and Energy Ball. Hits everything here at least neutrally. So I'm kind of surprised to see the Swampert come in and it's going to manage to force out the Iron Moth, because after the special attack boost, if he had Energy Ball, I think he's in a great spot. So I'm kind of surprised about that. We're going to see the Medicham come in. Risky play here, because, that could have been, it was probably an Earthquake, but it could have been a Scald or something. He could have gotten this thing burned. And he's taking 57% damage. That's a lot. But it turns out he doesn't need it, because we're going to see this Trailblaze come out as the Tornadus comes in. And now there's nothing on Zach's team that can outspeed this. Because he's already, even a Scarf Chi-Yu could at best speed tie it. Thunder Punch is going to kill the Tornadus. An Eye-Leap's going to come in. He needs dodges and headbutt. Doesn't happen. There it goes. Chi-Yu's going to come in. If he's choice spec, he's not choice. He either lost the speed tie or wasn't Scarf. Close combat takes him down. Raikou's going to come in, also fall to a close combat. And then we're going to have Ogre Pawn come in, also going to go down to a close combat. And then followed up with just a Trailblaze on this Swampert. And that's it. That's it. So Zach said that the Thunder Punch was a roll, which I believe. I'm not going to go back and calc it. It's just Torn's pretty bulky. Thunder Punch isn't super strong, and it's not stab. But, man, I believe this. I didn't go back and check. I would hazard to guess this is the first time in my memory Zach's been 6-0'd. That was a wild sequence of events. 11 turns, one of the shorter battles in league history. If you can keep it down under 12 turns, that's usually up there for it. I think the shortest one we've ever had is 8, but this was it's shocking to see Zach beaten in this way. Usually if somebody beats him, it's a really good matchup, really good prep. Not saying that Darren didn't, but this just felt like an ambush. Hacks is the other way that Zach loses. So you can flinch him on a waterfall with Gyarados or something. Darren comes away with a win here. This team didn't even really get going here. You saw 3 Pokemon come out. This is still a very scary, difficult to deal with team, and Zach only had to deal with 3 of these Mons, and this Mega Medicham overwhelmed him. That Trailblaze was a great choice. Zach doesn't have a ton of priority on his team, and he didn't bring it at all this week, so there's not a lot of options once he gets set up here. But big win for Darren. Moving on, sending Zach down to the losers bracket. Sorry, losers bracket, folks. Now you got to deal with Zach. And I get to play... Oh, well, I guess that's a spoiler. But you guys probably already know the outcomes of the games. But now we can move on to the next one. So here we've got a battle between Papcoon of Texarkana Toxics and Zane of the Pittsburgh Piplups. So interesting backstory to this game is there was an illegal terrestrialization. Papkin probably could have just said, like, hey, you're not allowed to do that, and then rolled on through with a, I'm surprised, and just been like, no, I get the win by forfeit. But I think he did what most people would do and said, like, hey, we can recreate this battle up to this point, and we'll just play out. Because he caught it right away, and it didn't affect the rest of the battle, so I think they did the thing I think, like I said, most people would do. And I would hazard to guess the right thing, and they just replayed it. So we'll talk about things up to that point. But let's hop into this. So we've got the Slow King lead versus the Palafin. Palafin's just going to flip turn out here, get his 0 to hero going. Chandelure is going to come in, obviously try to threaten out this Slow King. Future Sight goes up. Future Sight has proven tricky for many competitors in the ABL, so definitely a good bring. T-Tar is going to come out on this Chandelure. Pretty good counter to Chandelure most of the time. He's going to eat this critical hit energy ball. Pretty unfortunate. I didn't notice that critical hit the first time I watched this. So, gets critical hit energy ball. I really thought that we were going to see a attempt to pursuit trap here, but we just see this Chandelure go ahead and switch out into Great Tusk. Pretty safe choice. We get the knockoff, get rid of the heavy-duty boots on Great Tusk, and he's going to go down to that Future Sight. Zane forgot about the Future Sight. Pretty unfortunate. Heracross is going to come in, and Mega Evolve go for this Mega Horn on the Primarina. Not going to do a lot of damage. I'm surprised we didn't see a follow-up Bullet Seed here. Especially because the only other thing you'd be worried about is this Primarina potentially being Choice Scarfed. I'm going to point something out to... A lot of people will know this, but for those of you who don't, if Zane was worried about a Choice Scarf Primarina, there's already a way he could have found out if it was Choice Scarfed. Right here, when Sand goes off, it buffets the faster Pokemon first. So we see that it buffets the Heracross first, and then the Primarina takes it. So he's got no worries if this Primarina is Choice Scarfed, also because it shows leftovers right here. But just another, marker that you can look for. So he's going to switch out into Roserade. Pretty safe switch there. Takes a Draining Kiss. And it's obviously going to scare out this Primarina. Oh no, double switch, I forgot. Got a double switch into Latios here. Flip turn from Latios onto the Slurpuff. Goodness gracious. It's a belly drum off. Now, right here, this is a bad spot for Papkun to be in. Nothing on the team resists Play Rough except for Excadrill. And we'll talk about Excadrill's problem here in a minute. So, Slurpuff's in here. He's going to miss a Play Rough. Man, if that is just not the, that's what this thing always does. It just got, this is the third Play Rough in a row that Papkun has managed to dodge. That would have, actually, this Electros in particular has managed to dodge. And he's going to go for a U-turn and get out of there. And this is Papkun's first mistake. He should have, the U-turn doesn't matter too much, but what he goes into is the problem. He goes into Excadrill. So, we talked about Excadrill. Longtime Slurpuff, why can't I say that? Jeez. Slurpuff users will know that this is a bad choice on Papkun's part. Slurpuff only runs 3 moves. Actually, so there was a set that it ran for a little bit in Gen 7 that was Focus Sash, Sticky Web, and Misty Explosion. So that way it could block Rapid Spins or Defogs and get up Sticky Web. The other thing that Papkun doesn't know about here is the reason it runs Focus Sash and Citrus Berry and stuff is because of its ability Unburden. This Slurpuff is faster than Excadrill, and it also learns Drain Punch. At this point, the battle's over, as long as as long as, oh my god, Keenan. What have I been saying? Have I been saying Keenan? I hope so. Sorry if I haven't been. Some of the new people, I get the names mixed up, so I apologize for that. So now Keenan just has to hit Play Roughs. That's all he's got to do. Play Rough comes out here. takes down the Slowking. Primarina comes in, return. Very safe choice there. That's the other move that it can run. It's going to take out the Primarina. Yep, Drain Punch can take down the T-Tar. And we're going to see another Pokemon this week get all 6 KOs in a battle, because he's also going to be able to take down the Electros, and he's going to be able to take down this Latios. This Mega Latios, even. And that's it. So Papcoon can't avoid a strong offensive fairy type tearing through his team for 2 weeks in a row. So he's going to head on down to the losers bracket. And Keenan gonna advance with a decisive Slurpuff sweep. Wow, I can't believe I nailed that pronunciation there. Well done me. But we can move on to our next battle. So next we've got my match, the Brooklyn Bonnets versus Dakota and the Blackpool Pokemon? Blackburn Pokemon Club. Blackburn Snovers. So, here we are. Dakota and I, tales all this time. We've played each other a million times. That's rounding down, I think. So, going into this match, I've had a hard time, because I'm just like, oh, he's definitely going to set up rocks. I see Golurk there. I'm like, okay, that's going to be his rocker. So I need to lead with something that can beat his definite rocker, Golurk. So I brought this Blastoise, and I do get the Golurk lead, as I expected. So this, again, leads me to believe that this is just kind of a rock-setting Golurk, maybe Assault Vest, maybe Focus Sash, something to guarantee he can get up rocks versus my team. That was my thought process going in. And I also had redesigned this Blastoise last minute to be more offensive. Originally, it was defensive enough that it could never be 2-hit KO'd by an Adamant Golurk. And it would always outspeed an Adamant Golurk. So a Jolly one could outspeed it, potentially, but I wouldn't ever be KO'd by that one either. So that was the original plan. I changed to this more offensive Assault Vest one to deal with the potential like Glamora lead if he were to bring that. Ended up not being the case, and I paid for it. So Sylveon comes out. I was shocked by this damage because I totally anticipated him to bring like a Spadef Lottie for Charizard and a Fizdef Sylveon for Urshifu. This surf damage told me that this Sylveon had at least some Spadef investment. I didn't know for sure until later that it was max Spadef investment. Galarian Slowking's going to come out, easy counter to this. And I'm going to take a very slow and safe Chilly Reception out after this. Incineroar's going to come and get the Intimidate off. I just need to threaten the Incineroar out. And I'm going to go into Sandy Shocks. I thought this would threaten him out, so that's why I put up Stealth Rocks here. But he's just going to Parting Shot out. I'll take that. Could have been much worse. Golurk's going to come in, clearly threatening an Earthquake or something. So Blastoise is going to come out and have to take this Poltergeist. That did more damage than I was like hoping for. I'm just like, okay, so this definitely is Adamant, and I kind of wish I had that defensive one more. But I'm just like, okay, if he's Adamant, I'm modest, I'm max speed, I should be able to just stay in and KO him here. But I had also taken the defense investment off, so my calcs were all messed up. So I just thought it was going to be okay. He outspeeds me, so I'm like, okay, I guess that's Jolly damage. Maybe, I guess Jolly Golurk can be faster than me and do that much damage. I didn't look into it. Spoiler alert, I should have. So, but the good news is, I know I can probably prevent this Golurk from getting up rocks now. That's the goal here. I'm going to go into Urshifu and try to do that. Incineroar is going to come out, not take rocks damage, so I know that it's definitely heavy duty boots. I'm going to get off the Wicked Blow. Based on that damage, I know I can kill it with a follow-up close combat, regardless of the -1 attack. This does reveal that I'm not choiced, but that doesn't matter too much. He probably anticipated that that would be the case. He's going to bring in Zapdos. Zapdos also doesn't take the hazard damage, so we know that that's boots as well. I'm not going to play around. We're going to go into Sandy Shocks. Very safe switch into Zapdos. And then Sylveon's going to come out here. And that's fine. I need Sylveon to get chipped away here. I'm going to Volt Switch out. and go into Galarian Slowking here as the wish goes up. I kind of have a weird play here because I figured he would protect, but I wanted to get some momentum out of the turn, but then I didn't feel like I had anything safe to go into, so went back into this, and I'm just like, that's fine, I can just Volt Switch out again. Just try to keep him a little bit low. I just need like a little bit of damage, and we'll do fine here. So Hyper Voice is going to come out here. Mystical Fire is going to go off, and I think I go for a Thunder Wave. So this Thunder Wave is important because now I can do a lot to keep the Sylveon low with Sludge Bomb and Psychic Noise. Sludge Bomb's going to chip him a little bit, get the full para there. Got lucky, but that's what you do when you have Paralysis on. Now I'm going to go for Psychic Noise to prevent a potential Wish, and I do that there. And now I think I went for another Sludge Bomb here to get more damage. Yep. And he reads that really well and goes into Scizor. I'm going to go hard into Charizard because there's not a lot Mega Scizor can do to me. And he goes for the U-turn. That U-turn damage actually already shows off that this is not a particularly offensive Scizor. Now he goes into Sylveon, showing, kind of confirming that this is Max Spadef. Because if it was Max Fizdef, it couldn't necessarily take on Mega Charizard in the sun, especially after this damage. But I'm going to go back to what I was doing, try to keep it low with the Galarian Slowking, go for Psychic Noise so that way it can't catch that Wish even though it's up in the air. And that's the play on Sylveon now. Just keep going for Psychic Noises to try to keep it low. Mega Scizor is going to come in, and I decided to take the risk here and go for Chilly Reception. I could have gotten knocked off there, which would have been kind of a big deal, but the way I was using Galarian Slowking, I knew I could handle that. So the rocks are going to go away, but I think at this point, I was just like, okay, I can get them back up. They're not super important, but I have a lot of the stuff weakened to the point I want it. Charizard's going to come in and just be able to Mega Evolve and go for the Weather Ball. It's going to 2-hit KO everything left. Actually, probably OHKO everything left with the exception of this Sylveon. Oh, that's not true. It wouldn't have OHKO'd the Urshifu. And then go... Oh, okay. Spoilers. Okay. So then the Golurk's going to come in here. Now I'm just like, okay, Golurk, I can KO this with maybe he is Assault Vest. Maybe I can definitely still KO him with a Solar Beam even if he is. Maybe he just doesn't want to risk it with Zapdos. I mean, at this point maybe I'm just going to be able to kind of clean up here. Maybe he's just going through stuff. And then he outspeeds me and kills me with a Stone Edge. Not something I had predicted. I probably would have figured it out if I had calced against the Blastoise, but I neglected to. So he kills Charizard with Stone Edge. A little unfortunate because Charizard had a really good matchup for the rest of this battle. But also at the same time, not the biggest deal because now I know what this thing's locked into. Between Poltergeist, Stone Edge, I'm assuming Earthquake and Dynamic Punch, he can go for any of those, but I have something that can live any of them. So I just have to pick my sacks very carefully. So I'm going to go into Sandy Shocks here. I shouldn't have done that. I should have gone into Urshifu, because if I go into Urshifu, I click Wicked Blow, and I get a KO on everything that's not the Urshifu. And then I have checks to Urshifu anyway, so I guess this was probably just because, like, I know he can switch. He's going to switch out here, and I go for this. I go for Stealth Rock here. If I'd gone for Thunderbolt, I think I win. I kind of clean things up there. Get the para. It ends up thankfully not mattering. Dakota shows off a really cool tech in Morning Sun Scizor here. Very smart because I get a boosted Thunderbolt because of the photosynthesis because of the sun, and he gets a boosted Morning Sun because of the sun. Really smart play here. Really kind of sets me back a little bit, but at this point Sandy Shocks is a little bit expendable, so I'm going to go ahead and try to get off just as much damage as I can on Scizor. And now at this point in the battle, like I said, I don't think he's going to go for Earthquake because Enamorus is like a potentially safe switch. He's going to go for something that can hit everything. It can hit anything with some damage. This is a guessing game, but I do have to go into the most expendable Pokemon at this point. so that way I can, I need to go into the most expendable Pokemon at this point. And I'm going to go to Urshifu for 2 reasons. It can take, I think, any move he goes for, sans Dynamic Punch. But I don't think he would go for Dynamic Punch because Enamorus is a potential switch-in on that turn. So I go into Urshifu, and it's going to be able to take the Poltergeist. Not a big problem. And now at this point, Wicked Blow is going to get a KO. Wicked Blow is going to get a KO. I don't think he's going to go into Urshifu. So, or almost get a KO. Yeah, I really thought that might be able to take it out. I'm not too worried because I do have protected pads, as you can see. So I don't have to worry about the static. I think Dakota said after the fact he was playing for that, but he didn't realize I had protective pads. It does show here, so maybe he was thinking that beforehand. I was worried about a Roost, so I did switch out into this. I didn't want to go for the Sucker Punch there or risk a Hurricane. Dakota makes a couple of aggressive U-turns with Zapdos, which I think is a good call. Puts me back in the same position I was a couple turns ago. And at this point, I need to reevaluate. And it's like, okay, based on the damage I have, what are the valuable things? What are the non-valuable things? I decide Galarian Slowking I don't need at this point. So I'm going to go into Galarian Slowking, and it ends up being the right call as he goes for a Dynamic Punch. I don't want to risk getting confused on Chilly Reception, so I do double switch here, and I'm able to get in Enamorus. Now, this is also a great play for me, because I'm Bibiri Berry, so I can live a Bullet Punch if he has it, and that's even better, because that's like now 3 of the 4 moves that Golurk can't click against Enamorus. I'm going to go for Moonblast, just make sure I get the KO and prevent any potential switching. Now this is going to come out. Now, again, got to make the right call. Is he going to go for Stone Edge? Is he going to go for Poltergeist? Is he going to go for one of his other 2 moves, making a prediction? I go into Galarian Slowking on the Stone Edge. Happen to get the play right again. I'm getting really lucky with these predictions. Because at this point, it's almost 50-50s. Like, he had 2 options he could have gone for that would have gotten the KO. 2 options that he would have gone for that wouldn't have gotten the KO. So now I can pretty safely Chilly Reception, and I can go back into Enamorus. It's going to be faster than anything that comes in. It's going to be able to get a KO with Moonblast here. And again, we got another opportunity to 50-50 here. I'm going to go into Sandy Shocks. No longer really needed. It's going to eat that Poltergeist and go down. Urshifu is going to come out. Pretty safe for me to go for. I could have gone for the close combat here, but I was going to go for the Wicked Blow just in case he wanted to get in Urshifu to try to set up. At this point, I need to make sure Urshifu can't set up. So he's going to go for the Trailblaze here. Not a big deal. If he had gone for Swords Dance there, maybe he can get, maybe I think there might be some good rolls where he could Surging Strikes for the win, depending on his item. But went for the Trailblaze there. I'm able to pick him off with Psychic Noise. And then Golurk's going to come in, get his 4th KO of the game. Thankfully, at this point, I no longer need to predict. And I'm going to be able to come in and clean up with Urshifu. Good battle. Dakota caught me off guard with the Golurk play. If the prediction game had gone the other way, then Golurk probably could have come away with a lot more KOs and been a problem for me. Thankfully, that was not the case. I've had 2 pretty long battles considering how offensive my team is. So that is a little bit surprising, but I also have gone against 2 maybe bulkier teams, so that might be it. But really good game, and now we can move on to our final game of the week. And that game is our Marquee Match of the Week.
Marquee Match of the Week. Now we have a theme.
You know what? I'm worried that wasn't loud enough, so I'm just going to do another take here. Let's turn that up a little bit.
Marquee Match of the Week. Now we have a theme.
I didn't consider, because I have the recording volume a little bit lower for the background music, so may have been a mistake there. Probably sounded pretty weak on previous recordings, but there, you got a good take. Anyways, Marquee Match of the Week. We've got Jabron taking on Zane. Really interesting one. Let's hop into this. So, we start off with Diancie versus Cinderace. Not a great lead for the Cinderace here, but he's just going to U-turn out, go into the Ferrothorn. Little does he know that's actually really not a great option for him for a couple of reasons. One, can't afford to get a passage here. Two, he's going to eat this Mystical Fire. It's going to do a ton of damage, and he doesn't take the KO when he is offered it. He instead paralyzes himself. Big mistake. He does say in the chat here that it's just like, oh, I've never seen this thing before. Okay, if you weren't around in Gen 6 or 7, I get it. Not everyone was. You needed to research Mega Diancie. It's very important that you know that this thing gets magic bounce. Because if he goes for diamonds, or if he goes for a gyro ball there, this is a very different game. Really needed to do that. At least kind of force a new game state, right? And that's going to get cleaned up. And in comes the Tapu Lele. I'm going to go for the Energy Ball, get the KO, but taking a massive amount of damage. Now, Tapu Lele has a really good matchup here, especially if it can manage to switch moves. Psychic KOs 4 of the things left. Moonblast or Focus Blast is going to do a big chunk or destroy Archaludon respectively. Tapu Lele you really need to have around and probably wanted it to have more HP. Kilowattrel is going to come in, and now there's no good answer to Kilowattrel on this team. Araquanid definitely isn't one, and Archaludon's also going to be able to threaten this Araquanid. Thunderbolt's not going to be able to pick up the KO, so Sticky Web's going to go up, which will be important. Thunderbolt's going to clean up the Araquanid there, and now Sneasler's going to come in, get that Spadef boost from the Psychic Seed, very smart. Going to take the opportunity to Swords Dance. Thunderbolt's not going to do too much damage to it, and it's going to follow up with a close combat, kill Archaludon. And also, its Unburden is activated, so this thing is very fast, very strong. And this Donphan's going to have to choose if it's going to get rid of the hazards or be able to revenge kill the Sneasler. He makes the right choice, and he revenge kills the Sneasler. So, this Sticky Web is going to stay up for the remainder of the game, but probably the right choice. Cinderace is going to come out, just go for a U-turn. Take care of this Donphan. A good, the right choice. A good, the right choice. A good play, the right choice. But yeah, Kilowattrel is going to be able to threaten everything pretty well here. Like, I'm going to slow down towards the end of the game. Going to get a Pyro Ball. It's going to come off versus this Walking Wake. And then it's going to follow up with a Protean high jump kick. I think it crits, yeah. Crits, picks up the KO. Important. Like, Zane right now, he's playing from behind because of a misplay earlier in the game. But he still has outs, and those outs involve getting lucky. And he gets part of that here in the crit. So now Kilowattrel's going to come out again. Now, if he wants to win, he needs to dodge some Hurricanes. Now, his first point of potential winning is dodge a Hurricane here. If he dodges this Hurricane and hits a Pyro Ball, he wins the game. And if he gets hit by the Hurricane here, now he has to dodge like 2 Hurricanes with the Pinsir, but still doable because Hurricane's only a 70% accurate move, so he has outs. So Hurricane, boom, gets the hit. Unfortunate. Now he has to dodge 2 Hurricanes. The chances of dodging 2 Hurricanes aren't astronomical. I'm going to do my math out loud here. So, also, important thing, he shouldn't Mega Evolve. Because I don't think 2 Thunderbolts would KO Pinsir. But 2 Thunderbolts would definitely kill Mega Pinsir. So he shouldn't Mega Evolve right now. Okay, so if he doesn't Mega Evolve, if the Hurricane goes off 1,000 times, 30 of them miss. Of those 30, another 21? No, he hits another 21. So he has a 9% chance to win off of 2 Hurricane misses. That's kind of what he has to do right here. Like, he doesn't really have a lot of other options. He does Mega Evolve, but that only matters if he goes for Thunderbolt. He doesn't go for Thunderbolt, he actually misses the first Hurricane. So, there's that first 30% out of the way. So you're like 9%, that's pretty low. Well, the first one came through, so actually now this is just a 30% chance. 30% chance because I didn't run the calcs. Maybe I should run the calcs before talking out of my ass. I'm going to do that over here on the sides. Because I'm operating under the assumption that Mega Pinsir +2 return KO's Kilowattrel. And maybe that's not the case. But Kilowattrel is not particularly bulky, and even though it resists, I am quite convinced that return does 122 minimum. So, yeah, if you can dodge a Hurricane here, this Pinsir's one. For those of I'm not going to check. For those of you wondering, though, the quick attack calc it only does like 40%. So he can't priority his way through this. He needs to dodge this Hurricane, and if he does, he gets the win. He doesn't dodge the Hurricane, dead. Unfortunate for Zane, but I think that's because he got, costly mistake early in the battle, and that set him down a Pokemon, and because also that means in this other universe where he just gyro balls and kills the Diancie, Tapu Lele's at full health for the rest of the battle and doesn't need to go lock itself into Energy Ball. So, yeah, I made a mistake. He made a mistake, and it cost him. And Jabron moves on. So well done, Jabron. Didn't have to get fancy with that play. Just with that battle, just attack the stuff in front of you and don't get too unlucky. Got a little unlucky with the misses and the crit from the high jump kick, but you put yourself in a good enough position. I think that's one of the big keys to Pokemon is don't play yourself out of a good position if you have it. I think we used to Kyle was the poster child for this back in the day. He would be in a good position and be like, hey, here's a play that I think makes sense. I'm going to play into it, and it ends up being a detriment. He outplays himself. But Jabron didn't do that. Well done, Jabron. Let's take a look at the bracket. Here we go. Oh, my monitor just went off. I'm just going to assume you can still see. So we got the top half of the bracket, and all these games are done. Those are the ones we did. So these people are off until week 4. Darren versus Jeremy in week 4, skipping week 3. Keenan versus Jabron in week 4, skipping week 3. So let's go down and take a look at what we do have going on next week. We've got Drew versus Zane. Those two are tied together in my head. I think they both joined the South at the same time, and they both got called up to the North at the same time. At least that's my memory of it. That could be wrong, but that's how I remember it happening. We got Brett versus Papcoon. Papcoon's been having some bad luck, and he draws Brett, so that's also some bad luck. Kyle versus Dakota, another classic ABL matchup that we're going to get to see for the 1,000,001th time. Then Logan versus Zach. I told Logan he was playing Zach, and he said he'd rather eat another tree, as if he's ever eaten a tree in his life. So that should be an interesting set of games. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you're enjoying the tournament so far. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.